ॐ यश्छन्दसां वृषभो विश्वरूपः छन्दोभ्योऽध्यमृतात् सम्बभूव समेन्द्रो मेधया स्पृणोतु अमृतस्य देवधारणो भूयासम् शरीरं मे विचक्षणम् जिह्वा मे मधुमत्तमा करणाभ्यां भूरिविश्रुवम् ब्रह्मणः कोशोऽसि मेधया पिहितः श्रुतं मे गोपाय ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ मेधा देवी जुषमाणा न आगाद् विश्वाचि भद्रा सुमनस्यमाना त्वया जुष्टानुदमाना दुरुक्तान् बृहद्वदेम विधते सुवीराः त्वया जुष्ट ऋषिर्भवति देवि त्वया ब्रह्मा गतश्रीरुतत्वया त्वया जुष्टश्चित्रं विन्दते वसुसानो जुषस्व द्रविणो न मेधे मेधां म इन्द्रो ददातु मेधां देवी सरस्वती मेधां मे अश्विना बुभावा धत्तां पुष्करस्रजाम् अप्सरासु च या मेधा गन्धर्वेषु च यन्मनः दैवे मेधा सरस्वतिः सामां मेधा सुरभिर्जुषतागुं स्वाहा आमां मेधा सुरभिर्विश्वरूपा हिरण्यवर्णा जगति जगम्या ऊर्जस्वती वयसा पिन्वमाना सामां मेधा सुप्रतीका जुषन्ताम् मयि मेधां मयि प्रजां मयि यज्ञस्तेजो दधातु मयि मेधां मयि प्रजां मयि इन्द्रियं दधातु मयि मेधां मयि प्रजां मयि सूर्यो भ्राजो दधातु ॐ हंस हंसाय विद्महे परमहंसाय धीमहि तन्नो हंसः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Rajiv. Let me first start with introducing the Vivekananda Youth Circle. Vivekananda Youth Circle, or VYC, was established in 1984 at the then BE College, Shibpur. It is a voluntary, non-political, non-sectarian student organization of this institution, working under the guidance of some of the professors and some of the monks of the Ramakrishna Order. Its members meet regularly every week in a study circle, undertake different social service activities, and organize lectures, seminars, cultural competitions, etc. Over the years, VYC has provided excellent opportunities to those youths of this university who are striving to work, think, and build their characters and ideals preached by Swami Vivekananda. Some of the main activities of VYC are weekly session by the students where we study and discuss the life and teachings of Swamiji, practice meditation. We organize lectures by eminent monks of the Ramakrishna Order, some other personalities on character building mostly. We maintain a library of books on Swamiji, Vedanta, personality development, etc. And sometimes we organize service oriented activities like granting scholarships, free coaching classes for the needy and meritorious students nearby the campus, etc. So this is about VYC. Now we are thrilled to have Swami Sarvapriyananda as our guest today. I remember when we were students, we used to watch Maharaj talks in other IIT study circles, and we used to think, when will it ever be possible for us to host him in our study circle? So today, we are very happy that that is coming true. Though most of us know Maharaj, let me still introduce Swamiji just in case. Swami Sarvapriyananda is a dynamic young monk of the Ramakrishna Order. He joined the order at Ramakrishna Mission Vidyapith, Deoghar, Jharkhand in 1994. Since then, he has served the Ramakrishna Mission in various capacities, including Vice Principal of the Deoghar Vidyapith Higher Secondary School, Principal of the Sikshana Mandira Teaching Trainings College at Belur Math, and as the first Registrar of the Ramakrishna Mission Vivekananda University at Belur Math. Currently, he is the head of the Vedanta Society of New York, from where he has joined us today. Maharaj, we would like to hand over the control to you from here on.
Thank you, Vishwarup. And thank you for having me in this program. Rajdeep, your chanting was really good. I was listening carefully. So where did you learn? Did you learn by yourself? Rajdeep? You have to unmute yourself. Is Rajdeep there?
Hello, Maharaj.
Where did you learn?
I learned it in Veda Bhavan, Kolkata. I am actually learning Samaveda from my Guruji.
Exactly. That's why chanting is so good.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you. So I'd like to start with chant with a pranam mantra to Swamiji, and then we'll take it from there. Om Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Surai Satchid Sukha Swarupaya Swami Netapaharine. So in this session, I was thinking of having a serious discussion. You know, one way I could do this was that I was thinking the usual way when Swamijis or often faculty also talk about Swami Vivekananda to young people, they'll tell you have to do character building and build up a strong body, be of service to others, concentrate on your studies. All that is good and essential. But I thought today we'll have a deeper discussion because it's a study circle and there are some things I wanted to discuss for some time. I've been giving these talks this last few weeks because Swami Vivekananda's birthday on 12th January. I've been getting these online invitations from different places. So that's the kind of talk I've been giving. But I wanted to move on to some deeper discussion of Swami Vivekananda's ideas. So what I will do today is talk about Swami Vivekananda and Vedanta. What is old and what is new in Swami Vivekananda's thought and presentation of Vedanta. The way I want to do this is I want to take up a point, a particular subject, and discuss it for a while, to speak about it for a while, and then maybe 15-20 minutes, and then throw it open for questions, comments, discussions, and then move on to the next. Today I have selected the central teachings of Swami Vivekananda regarding Vedanta. And actually what I have selected is a very wide range of topics. And if I really want to discuss it in detail, I was calculating it would take me 3 or 4 lectures. So I have to compress all of that into one talk and also have time for some kind of discussion. So I'll just pack a lot into what I say. All right then. What do I want to discuss in this session? First of all, Swami Vivekananda's presentations of the central teachings of Advaita Vedanta. That I will discuss. The first 2 points will be, Swami Vivekananda summarized Advaita Vedanta in 2 points. One is the divinity within ourselves, and the second one is the oneness of all existence. So what does it mean? What is meant by divinity within ourselves? And what is the oneness? How is this existence, all of this universe, how is it one? In what sense is it one? In traditional Advaita Vedanta and Swami Vivekananda's presentation, we will see that. The next thing I want to discuss is Swami Vivekananda, the harmony of religions. His ideas are, of course, just about everything in Swamiji can be traced back to Sri Ramakrishna, but his presentation was, of course, very new in his own way, unique and original. So his ideas about the harmony of religions, I want to discuss that next. And then after that, a discussion on Swami Vivekananda and the 4 yogas. There's a unique way Swami Vivekananda, what is old in that, what is the traditional idea of the 4 yogas, and what is Swami Vivekananda's presentation. And finally, Swami Vivekananda's ideas of Vedanta and ethics, what is right and wrong, ethics and morality. So these 5 points, oneness, divinity of the soul, oneness of existence, harmony of religions, the 4 yogas, and ethics, Vivekananda and ethics. Each of them is a vast subject, and as I was saying, I calculated it would take at least 3 lectures to cover all of these. So I'll start off, but there's one particular reason why I have chosen this and what I'm trying to do in this session. I just want to share that with you. There is a distinction between how something is perceived, old and new, in the West and in the East. Here in, say, in the West and back in India. Again, when I mean back in India, I mean the traditional Vedantic idea, the traditional Vedantic paradigm, because as far as modern academics is concerned, it is the same all over the world. I mean, now it's the Western paradigm. What I'm trying to say is this. To put it very simply, the traditional Vedantic, not only just Vedantic idea, the idea in Indian thought was that you develop things by commentaries and sub-commentaries. If there's something somebody claims is absolutely new, that is immediately rejected. It is of no value. If I say, I have discovered something which is quite outside, quite different from what is there in the Vedas or what is taught by the earlier masters, then it is not likely to be accepted. That was the traditional idea. That, for example, so when Shankaracharya is writing commentaries while he's teaching Advaita Vedanta, look at the way he teaches. He is writing commentaries on the Upanishads. So what was there in the Upanishads, very careful to say that what I'm saying is an interpretation, is the correct interpretation of the Upanishads. It's not mine. I am just commenting on that. And Shankara's followers, other great Advaita masters through the ages, they are saying that what has been said in the Upanishads, what has been given, commented upon and explained by Shankara, I am explaining it further. I am writing a sub-commentary on Shankara's commentary on the Upanishads. If somebody at some point says, no, they were all wrong, I'm going to tell you the right thing now, that would be utterly rejected. In contrast to this, look at the Western approach, whether in Western philosophy or in modern academics, which is now the approach everywhere. Today, if you write a paper to publish in any subject, especially in philosophy and other subjects also, you will have to say that what I'm saying is new. Otherwise, you have no right to write a paper. If you're going to just repeat what has been said earlier, no, you have to say I'm new. In fact, in philosophy, you see the papers in Western philosophy, for example, and also the works of Western philosophers. The approach is, all those who have gone before me, they were wrong, and I am telling you something new. I am giving you something that they had not thought of. They had made mistakes, all my predecessors, and now I'm going to correct that mistake. Generally, academic papers are like that. This is new and rejecting the old. In India, if you do that, let me give an example. Recently, somebody wrote a very nice book on Sri Ramakrishna's conception of the harmony of religions. Very good book. Now, one of our senior Swamijis immediately said, no, there's nothing new there. What Sri Ramakrishna has said is the same as what Shankara has said and what is there in the Upanishads and Gita. It is just a new way of presenting the same truth. See, for him and for our mindset, we are suspicious of if anybody claims originality. If anybody claims, you may have originality in presentation, but originality by yourself, all these central ideas are your own ideas, it is not appreciated. It is regarded with suspicion. The Upanishads have revealed the truth. So if you are going to talk about the truth, the ultimate reality, you must be commenting on the Upanishads, you must be explaining the Upanishads. If you say, I'm giving something original, or worse, if you say they were all wrong, I'm giving you the truth now, that will not work. Now, last year I got a chance to I got a fellowship at Harvard University, so I spent 1 year at Harvard. I took up courses in philosophy. One of the teachers I remember he was starting a course on Indian philosophy, Introduction to Indian Philosophy. No, that was a course on classical Indian Buddhism, classical Indian Buddhist philosophy. So when he started that, remember, now he's speaking in the West and in the heart of Western academia at Harvard University. So this professor, he's of Indian descent, Professor Parimal Patil, he said this distinction is not valid, that the Western approach is new and original, traditional knowledge and only development of that only. No. He pointed out that in the traditional approach in Buddhism or in Vedanta, even when they're writing commentaries, they're actually free to say new things. You just say it with a great deal of respect. I bow down to the great commentator Shankara, or with great respect to Nagarjuna, or so and so forth. I think this is what was meant. And you introduce your own new idea there, that this is what was meant. A new, it might be your original idea. You might even be correcting the earlier commentator. You change it. And you put it there, but with great respect, as if you are doing an explanation, you're giving an explanation of the same thing, but it's a new idea. And not only that, he also said that in the West, he's speaking now at Harvard, he says, in the West, when we claim it is original, it is new, it is not, all those who went before me, they are wrong. Even there, you are doing nothing more than building upon the work of your predecessors. So if you look at Marx, for example, if you unmask Marx, you will find Hegel behind it. If you unmask Hegel, you will find Kant behind it. If you unmask Kant and dive deeper into it, you will find the British empiricists behind it, and so on. You'll go all the way back to ancient Greek thought. Some basic idea was there, which the next person is reacting to, changing, modifying, or replacing. But you are, even when you claim originality here, you're still building on that. Anyway, so this is the background. I hope I made my point. What I'm trying to do now is to show what was old and traditional in Vivekananda and what is new in Vivekananda. With this idea in background, the importance of newness and originality, the importance of commenting or explaining traditional knowledge. Both are there. Now let me start. The first point is the divinity of the soul. Swami Vivekananda, we all know, we have always studied. He said that each soul is potentially divine, and the goal of human life is to manifest this divinity within us. And then he goes on to say, talk about the 4 yogas and so on. So this divinity within, this is to be manifested. Again, Swami Vivekananda says, my mission in life can be put in a few words. It is to preach unto mankind their inner divinity and how to make it manifest in every movement of life. Now the question is, what is this inner divinity? What do you mean by it? It sounds nice to say that we are divine, but what divine in what sense? What is the meaning of this in Vedanta? So, in Vedanta, it means he's talking about the Atman, which is not the body, not the mind, which is pure consciousness, which is existence, consciousness, bliss. What is this and how do we discover it? What is Advaita Vedanta's view about this? So, for example, we can approach it in different ways. We take up different texts in Advaita Vedanta, but let's take it up from the Bhagavad Gita. In the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the second shloka is Idam Shariram Kaunteya Kshetram Ityabhidhiyate Etad Yoveti Tam Pahu Kshetrajya Iti Tadvidaha. So this body, Krishna is saying to Arjuna, this body, O Arjuna, is called the Kshetra, the field. And the one who knows this body is called the knower of the field, Kshetrajya. So this is the verse, but it's a very important verse. It gives an explanation of what Swami Vivekananda means by the divinity of the soul, that we are divine. What does it mean? So this body, am I this body? When you ask the question, who am I? So our first instinctive reaction is, I am this. This is I, this body. And Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he tells Arjuna, no, you are not the body. You are the knower of the body. He uses the word etadyo vetti, the one who knows this body. What do you mean by knowing this body? Just as I know things outside. Here is a book. So I see this book. I know this book means I can see it, I can touch it, I can hear it, and so on. All my senses reveal the book to me. And because I know this book, the book is an object of my knowledge. It is not me. It's an object of my knowledge. And therefore it is not me. The subject and the object are different. The knower and the known are different. Drashta and drishya, seer and the seen, are different. So this book is an object. It is known. It is seen, drishya, and it is an object of all of my senses. And I am the knower, the subject. I am the one which is aware of it. I cannot be the same as this book. And indeed, nobody makes a mistake. When I'm holding the book, I never think that I am this book. I never think that. But the problem starts with this body. This body is also an object. See, if the criterion is something is an object of your senses, something is something that you know, then you cannot be it. So if this body is something that I know, we all know the body. I can see the body, I can hear the body, I can touch the body, smell the body, even taste the body. The body is an object of all my senses. I know the body. I can even think about it, I can remember about the body. So the body is an object, and I am the subject. I am the knower, and the body is the known. Therefore, I cannot be the body. Similarly, not just the physical body. If you go inwards and more subtle, we look inwards, we have the mind. By mind, I mean thoughts, feelings, emotions, ideas, intellect, understanding, memory. But all of those are also objects. We cannot see them or hear them or smell them or taste them or touch them, but my mind is revealed directly to me. I'm aware of my thoughts. If I have pleasure or pain, I'm aware of pleasure and pain directly. In my own awareness, it is coming up. So if I have memory, I'm aware of the memory. Therefore, the contents of the mind itself is known. It's also something which is part of the kshetra, the field. It is an object. Because it is an object, I'm the subject, I cannot be the mind also. Very dramatic discovery that I'm not even the mind. There is a mind which is working, but I'm not the mind. I'm aware of it. It is working. Thoughts, feelings are coming and going, but I am not it. Because I am the awareness, the witness of the mind, the consciousness behind it. So in this way, we begin to realize that we are not the body and mind. And all the Vedantic techniques, the procedures which are taught in the different Upanishads, Drigdrishya Viveka, Panchakosha Viveka in the Taittiriya Upanishad, Avasthatraya Viveka in the Mandukya Upanishad. So all of these things, they reveal to us that I am the witness consciousness. I am awareness. I am aware of the body, I am aware of the mind, but I am not the body-mind. So what does this mean then? If I am not the body, then the properties of the body are not my properties. You follow this carefully. The body is born. If I am not the body, then I am not born with the body. Dramatic result. It is the body which goes from youth to middle age to old age to death. It is the body which dies. I do not become old when the body is old. I do not die when the body dies. It is the mind which is sometimes happy and sometimes depressed. I am not happy with the happiness of the mind. I am not depressed with the depression of the mind. See, these are qualities of the mind. These are qualities of the body, and they belong to the body and mind, not to me. You immediately see how you are set free from the ups and downs of the mind, from the happiness and unhappiness and desire and frustration, negativities of the mind, also the positivities. All these become the characteristics of the mind. You see it directly, that's a fact. You feel, why did I not know this earlier? And you are freed from the body. Freed from the body, not in the sense that you will escape from the body like a burst of gas or something. No, you are aware of the body. Just as the light which shines on every object in this room is actually free of those objects. The objects can come and go, the light is not sticking to them. Similarly, your consciousness, free of the body and mind and its characteristics, its properties, that sense of freedom, it comes. And it comes in the mind itself. It's the mind which thinks and feels it. This is called the divinity of the soul. It is not a physical entity, not even a mental entity. Soul or the Atman, I am, this is the meaning of it, that I am consciousness or I am Sakshi. This is the meaning. So this is the first big insight. What is meant by divinity of the soul? Now the second big thing comes. Two questions arise here. If I am the consciousness, not body and not mind, like Shankaracharya sings, Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham. So I am not body, I am not mind. Shankaracharya sings in Nirvana Shatakam, Mano Buddhyahankara Chittani Naham. I am not the mind, I am not the intellect, I am not the ego, I am not the memory. What am I then? Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham. I am of the nature of consciousness and bliss, I am of the nature of Shiva. This is the first step. Now two questions arise here. One is, so you're talking about religion. We have not talked about God yet. We have divided everything into Kshetra and Kshetragya. The entire universe is Kshetra. Body is also Kshetra. Mind is also Kshetra. It's an object. It's a field. And you are the consciousness which is aware of all of this. What about God? On which side? Is God an object? Then God will just be reduced to a part of the field, an insentient object, changing. Or is God on the side of the subject, the Kshetragya, the knower of the field? In that case, you and God will become identical. And then the second question would be, how many Kshetragyas in all these fields, in all these bodies? Are there many consciousnesses in each one separate consciousness, separate Kshetragya? Or is there one? And Krishna answers it in the second part, the third verse of the 13th chapter. Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. In all these bodies, in all these minds, the witness consciousness that you see, that is there, is one. Bodies are different, minds are different, but consciousness is one. This is a dramatic step forward, because if you separate consciousness from body and mind, this is Sankhya philosophy, or the Patanjali's yoga philosophy. Purusha and Prakriti are separated. But now, he's saying that in Sankhya and yoga, each body-mind has separate Purusha, separate consciousness. But Advaita Vedanta says it is one consciousness. So I am not only the witness consciousness of this body and mind, all the consciousness in all these bodies and minds is one consciousness, not divided. Bodies are different, minds are different. The sentient being, the jivas are different. But at the level of Atman or Brahman, it is one reality. And Krishna says, Man Vidhi, I am the consciousness in all beings. So this one consciousness in all beings is what is called God in Vedanta. Swami Vivekananda also says, the only God I believe in is the sum of all human souls. That means the consciousness associated with all souls or with all sentient beings. Okay, so one more point. What about the material universe? And what is the relationship of this entire universe to consciousness? Now we have one consciousness. See, we have moved quite fast. From body-mind awareness that I am this body-mind, we move to I am the consciousness in the body-mind, separate from body-mind. Then we move to I am one consciousness in all beings, and that itself is God. So in that level, we and God are one and the same. Now the question remains, the entire material universe, all these kshetra, these bodies, these minds, what is the relationship of the material universe to this one consciousness? Are they separate things? That will be like Sankhya. Or is it like, so one consciousness and this material universe are not separate somehow? According to Advaita Vedanta, this entire material universe is an appearance in this one consciousness. Just like clay and pot. Shankaracharya in Aparokshanubhuti gives the example, the classic example of clay and pot. Clay and pot are not separate. The pot is not a separate reality apart from the clay. At first we thought it was a pot, and then we were told that no, there is a deeper reality here called clay. Pot is a name and a form given to clay. The pot is not something apart from the clay. In the same way, the objects which are experienced in consciousness are actually not apart from consciousness. So the objects do not constitute a second reality distinct from, independent from consciousness. Advaita Vedanta is just, non-duality is established. Advaita establishes non-duality. Non-duality means apart from consciousness, there is no second entity. Consciousness is one reality, and apart from that, there is no second reality, therefore non-dual, not two. This is Advaita Vedanta. And therefore, all is one consciousness. This is what is meant by Swami Vivekananda when he says the oneness of all existence. It is one Sat, pure being, appearing as many through different names and forms and activities. It is one consciousness, appearing as many, experiencing itself as many through different names and forms and activities. But at its heart, it is this whole universe is one reality. So this is the traditional presentation of Advaita Vedanta. Nothing new here. This is how Advaita Vedanta has been taught in the Upanishads and by Shankaracharya and by his followers. Only Swamiji's presentation, language is new, the divinity of the human soul and the oneness of all existence. Now, what is new in this presentation of Swami Vivekananda? Let me just mention it in a couple of sentences, then I'll stop for a little bit of discussion before I go ahead. So let me just quote. Swami Vivekananda goes further and makes and gives you a new synthesis in his presentation of Vedanta. I just want to quote from Sister Nivedita. She puts it so well. What is unique here? Up to now, what I have mentioned, by quoting Vivekananda, divinity of the human soul, oneness of existence, Bhagavad Gita, Kshetra, Kshetragya, and all of this is standard Vedanta. Sister Nivedita, in her introduction to the complete works, I really suggest you should read that introduction. Fantastic. In a few pages, she has really summed up who Vivekananda was and what his central teachings were. Now, she says, but what is unique in Swami Vivekananda's Vedanta? She writes, it must never be forgotten that it was Swami Vivekananda who, while proclaiming the sovereignty of the Advaita philosophy, so he maintained that the Advaita was the highest. And then she writes, he also added to Hinduism the doctrine that Dvaita, Vishishtadvaita and Advaita are but three phases or stages in a single development, of which this Advaita constitutes the goal. This is part and parcel of the still greater and more simple doctrine that the many and the one are the same reality, perceived by the mind at different times and different attitudes. Or as Sri Ramakrishna expressed the same thing, God is both with form and without form, and that he is that which includes both form and formlessness. And then she writes, it is this which adds its crowning significance to our master's life. Master here means Swami Vivekananda. For here he becomes the meeting point not only of East and West, but also of past and future. If the one and the many and the one be indeed the same reality, then it is not all modes of worship alone, but equally all modes of work, all modes of struggle, all modes of creation, which are paths of realization. No distinction henceforth between sacred and secular. To labor is to pray, to conquer is to renounce. Life itself is religion. To have and hold is as stern a trust as to quit and avoid. This is the realization which makes Vivekananda the great preacher of karma, not as divorced from, but as expressing jnana and bhakti. To him, the workshop, the study, the farmyard, and the field are as true and fit scenes for the meeting of God with man as the cell of the monk or the door of the temple. To him, there is no difference between service of man and worship of God, between manliness and faith, between true righteousness and spirituality. So all his words from one point of view read as a commentary upon this central conviction. Art, science, and religion, he said once, are but three different ways of expressing a single truth. But in order to understand this, we must have the theory of Advaita. This one sentence, three sentences, which Sister Nivedita has written about Swami Vivekananda, this is so profound. It is the key to understanding what Vivekananda was, what he taught. It is the highest teaching of Swami Vivekananda. Everything follows from there, actually. This is the unique presentation. Recently, one of our bright young monks, Ayan Maharaj, who is in the Vivekananda University, He has written a book about Sri Ramakrishna's philosophy, Infinite Path to Infinite Realities, published by Oxford University Press. He talks about this. He calls it Vijnana Vedanta. This is Swami Vivekananda's, let us say, going back to that discussion about what is old and what is new. This is what is original. Is it different? Is it novel? Is it something not found in the Upanishads? Now you can look at it both ways. That yes, it is an expression, it's a further commentary, a further elaboration of the same truths from the Upanishads, which flowed through Shankaracharya and down through the other acharyas, and finds further elaboration in Swami Vivekananda. So if you're a very traditionalist, you will say that. Or from a Western perspective or a modern academic perspective, these are new. These are novel ideas, the stunning new developments in this age-old Vedanta. Okay, I'm done. This is the first part of my presentation. Vishwarup, is there anybody who would like to comment or say something?
If anyone of you has any question, then you can ask directly.
So I'm hearing a lot of
Yes.
background noise. Somebody will have to mute.
If someone is outside, can you mute yourself?
I have a question. So
Yes, go ahead.
I have a question that is, my name is Preetha Sen.
Yes.
I'm a banker. I want to ask, what is the purpose of this perception of the mind that is separate from others? What is the purpose of this duality? Perception of the mind that I am separate from you. Why? What is the purpose of this supreme consciousness appearing as many body? That might be an appearance. That is what Maya is. That I am separate from you. The mind does not realize that we are all same. That the consciousness is a that we are this single consciousness. What is the purpose of
All
the
right.
forms that is separate from the other?
I get your question. Okay, you have to mute yourself because there's a lot of background sound, noise coming there. I get your
I'm
question.
muting.
Yes. Okay. So that's a really good question. Let me just give a brief answer to it, because otherwise it will take a long time. What is the purpose of all this duality? If I am this one infinite reality, why is it appearing as different minds, different bodies, and different from each other? Because all activity, all change, it requires duality. So the difference is necessary for the appearance of the samsara, for all activity, for change, for development. This you can call it, why is this there? This you can call it the Leela of God. There are different answers. Sri Ramakrishna has given it in the Gospel of Kathamrita. He has said, you can call it the Leela of God. You can say that it is necessary for our spiritual development, for the ultimate goal of God realization. So that is one answer. Ultimately, Swami Vivekananda says this question itself cannot be answered because it is within the duality. Within duality, we are asking about, within Maya, we are asking about the cause of Maya. It's a subtle question. Let me give you the answer in a seed form, but you will have to unpack it yourself. Ultimately, there is no logical answer to this question. Why? You're asking, why is there Maya? That's what you are basically asking. You're asking, why has the one become the many? From an Advaitic perspective, traditional Advaitic perspective, the answer will be one has not become the many. One is appearing as the many. Brahman is appearing as the many. So first of all, Brahman has not become, it's an appearance. When a film plays, cinema plays on the screen does not become the people and the activities and the things in the cinema. It is appearing as the cinema. Now, at that point, if you ask, why is it appearing also? Why is it even appearing? The answer will be, I'm giving answer from my perspective. Traditional Advaita says the question itself is wrong because you are asking why about Maya. You're asking why should there be causality within causality? So that is logically wrong. You have to work it out why it is logically wrong. I don't have time to explain that. But let me give you my answer, which I feel it's interesting that, so this one pure being, it can either appear as something or it can appear as nothing. And it could be some universe multiplicity just as you see it, or it could be nothing at all. It could just remain without appearance. And that's what it's doing. You're saying, why is it appearing as many? Or the alternative is it should not appear as many. Both are there. Look at your deep sleep, blank, no appearance. Look at your dream and waking, appearance is there. In the whole unit, the universal level, the whole universe in our idea of Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya. So in Pralaya, in the dissolution of the universe, no universe appears. But in Srishti and Sthiti, universe appears. So these are the only two logical alternatives, and both are there. What else what more could you ask for? Okay, next.
Pranam Maharaji, this is Garika Mitra, and I'd like to be very grateful to you because I like to say that every morning after my meditation and japa and my workout, I listen to your Bhagavad Gita lectures, and I'm currently focusing on two terms, which are Sthita Pragya and Asanga, and I've been trying to bestow that in my life. I don't know how far I've been successful. And I'd like to also thank the moderators and the organizers that you guys are doing a fantastic job and helping people like us to be a part of this. So Maharaji, my question is, just a while back you talked about Advaita. So, just thinking about the concept in detail, I'd like to ask you, is there any need to widen or narrow the gap between Advaita and Dvaita? Because just now you mentioned about Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya. And my question is there any need? If so, then how? Thank you. And Pranam.
Thank you, Gaurika. And since you mentioned your interest in words Asanga and Sthita Pragya, I would like to recommend to you a talk I gave at the Vedanta Society a few months ago. It's called The Unattached Self. The Unattached Self. If you look at the Vedanta Society channel on YouTube, you'll find that talk. Yes, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, so actually wanted to say that after listening to that talk, I have been, more inclined towards this concept, and which is why I want to ask the question. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So, Dvaita, not only Dvaita, Vishishtadvaita, and Advaita. In fact, as we just saw, Sister Nivedita said, one of Swami Vivekananda's unique contributions was harmonizing or synthesizing Dvaita, Vishishtadvaita, and Advaita. Vedanta has different schools, many different schools. Advaita Vedanta is one of those schools, but Vishishtadvaita is another school. Dvaita Vedanta is another school. Dvaita Advaita, then Shuddhadvaita, and Achintya Bheda Bhed, which is related to our Bengal school of Vaishnavism, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu school. So these are different schools of Vedanta. Now, traditionally, what was there and what did Swami Vivekananda do? Traditionally, the idea was all of them were competing schools. So all of these schools, they said that we have the correct interpretation of the Vedas, of the Upanishads. We have all based on same Upanishads, same Bhagavad Gita, but we have the correct interpretation. The other interpretations are not correct. Or we have the best interpretation, other interpretations are not good. And it existed like this, a sort of rivalry. Not outright violence or hatred, but kind of rivalry. And so trying to establish that my school of thought is the best and criticizing the other schools of thought. As Swami Vivekananda says, they are not competing actually. He gives this new insight, again from Sri Ramakrishna only, that they are all phases of the same development of Upanishadic thought. From Dvaita you go to Vishishtadvaita, from Vishishtadvaita to Advaita. So there are two ways of looking at this. It's a movement from Dvaita to Vishishtadvaita to Advaita. And then you put Advaita at the highest. But of course, this is a kind of privileging. First Dvaita, then Vishishtadvaita, and then Advaita. If I am a Dvaita Vedantin, I will not be happy about this. Who wants to be the bottom rung in a ladder? You want to be the top always. So the another way of looking at this is flat, not one above the other. All of them are true, and all of them can lead to the same realization, because it's the same Brahman that all of them are talking about. By a dualistic devotional approach to Brahman, you attain the same Brahman. By a non-dualistic approach, you attain the same Brahman. So these are different ways. That's how Vivekananda synthesized them. You have to unmute yourself. Nakul. Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
I was just joining in, I don't know.
Did you want to ask a question? No. Okay,
No,
fine.
I was just joining.
Okay, thank you.
Maharaj, there is a question in the chat box from Abhishek.
Okay, Abhishek's question. Can you just read it out and then we'll move on the next section which I want to take up.
Yeah, Abhishek asked that please explain it a bit why there is only one consciousness and not distributed consciousness.
Right. Why only one consciousness and not distributed consciousness? Okay. In fact, in traditional Indian philosophy, it is only Advaita Vedanta which says that there is one consciousness. Whereas Sankhya and Yoga, Patanjali's Yoga, or even the Nyaya and Vaisheshika, they all say that the consciousness is different for each body-mind. For each sentient being, each jiva, consciousness is separate. Bodies are separate, minds are separate, Chaitanya or consciousness is also separate. Now, there are different theories of consciousness in each of them. So Sankhya is the closest to Advaita Vedanta. It talks about this unlimited pure consciousness, but it says in each person, this consciousness is a different unit, and it calls it a Purusha, Bahu Purusha Vada, many Purushas. Purusha here does not mean man, it means consciousness. Now, Advaita Vedanta reverses this question. Your question was, why do you think that there is only one consciousness? The answer is that Advaita Vedanta reverses this question. It asks Sankhya, why do you think their consciousnesses are many? Why do you think consciousnesses are many? Notice, if you ask, why do you think bodies are many? You can obviously see there are so many bodies. Right now here, I think there are some 57 people. If you count, you will see 57 bodies. If you look at the minds you cannot directly look at, but if you take a survey, for example, for the same question, 57 people might give 57 different answers and opinions. So the minds are different. Our minds are different, our bodies are different. But apart from body and mind, if you think about consciousness itself as awareness only, what will distinguish it? How will you distinguish one consciousness from another? There must be some difference to distinguish one from the other. How will you distinguish? So Sankhya replies by giving some arguments. Why should we regard consciousness or Purusha as different in different bodies and minds? But none of those arguments stand. So for example, now remember what's happening. Advaita was asked, why do you think there's one consciousness? And Advaita asks, he turns it around and asks, why do you think that the consciousness is different? Sankhya gives reasons, actually 5 major reasons which Sankhya gives. And even we can immediately, when we hear the reasons, we can dismiss it. One reason is, Sankhya says, if there is one consciousness, then when one is awake and one is asleep, if one is awake, everybody should be awake. If one is sleeping, then everybody should fall asleep because it's one consciousness. But that is no argument, because waking and dreaming and sleep are functions of the mind, not of consciousness. Minds are different. One mind might be awake, and the consciousness is illumining the awake mind there. One mind might be asleep, and the consciousness is illumining the sleeping mind there. So minds may be awake or sleeping, but it does not mean consciousness itself is awake or sleeping. It does not differentiate consciousness. Another argument that Sankhya's give is, if it is the same consciousness, it could be that the birth of one person will be the birth of everybody. And if one person dies, then everybody will die because they're all the same consciousness. But immediately you can say that, no, how is this possible? The death is the death of the body. The body can die. It does not mean consciousness is dead. And so the death of the body or the birth of the body does not distinguish between consciousness. It's just the bodies which are differentiated. Another argument that is given is that suppose one person becomes enlightened, gets realization, then everybody will get realization if there is one consciousness. No, that is not possible. Realization, ignorance and realization, knowledge and ignorance are in the mind. They're not in consciousness. Consciousness, when there is enlightenment, consciousness reveals or illumines that enlightened mind. Where there is ignorance, consciousness reveals that ignorant mind. So every argument that Sankhya gives is cut down by Advaita Vedanta. There's no way of proving difference in consciousness. That's the answer. One second. I'll move on. Just give me a minute. I think somebody's at the door. All right. Now, let me move on to the second part of this presentation. I had said I'll discuss certain other aspects of...
Maharaj, I have one question. Maharaj, this is Ashish Patel. I'm saying.
Okay.
Maharaj, regarding this, I have one question. First of all, Pranam Maharaj, and thank you to the Vivekananda Youth Cycle IIST Shibpur for introducing Maharaj to say within us, and what a beautiful show it is going on. So Maharaj, I'm going to state question that is it only the reasoning based or logical based or argument based that the existent consciousness is one, or is there any direct physical, not physical, is it direct proof that there is only one consciousness is there?
Right.
This is the question.
It is direct proof. It is direct proof. Notice that what Advaita Vedanta does is, how does Advaita Vedanta use logic or reason? It is convincing or reasoning with our minds to talk about our own reality. See, if it is something other than you, so you're talking about, by reason, you're trying to convince me something about, say, America or say Germany. It's something different from us. I'm in New York, you may be in Calcutta or some other place in India, and if you're talking about Germany and giving some reasons about some aspect, we finally have to experience Germany. You have to go and see there and whether it's true or not. It's a separate reality. But about myself, when I'm reasoning, all the data is available to me. My consciousness is always evident to me. That I am aware is a fact always available to me. So what reasoning does in Advaita Vedanta is to remove misconceptions about this consciousness. It removes misconceptions. So the misconception, from Advaitic perspective, the idea that there are many consciousnesses is a misconception, and it has come from many bodies and many minds. Because there are many bodies and many minds, we get this misconception that there's many consciousnesses, and Advaita Vedanta uses reason to remove that misconception. Then you see for yourself, yes, it has to be so. There is one consciousness. Yes.
Thank you, Madam.
Right. Let me now go on to the second part of this discussion. I know that there can be any number of questions. What I just said now should be a full talk, like 1 hour, and then there should be question answers. So, but I'm just giving you the basic ideas and moving ahead. The second part of the discussion I wanted to take up was harmony of religions. So we know this is something that is closely associated with Sri Ramakrishna. If you ask people what did Sri Ramakrishna teach, most of them, the first thing they will say is Jato Mat Tato Path. As many faiths, so many paths. So the different religions are paths to God realization. They are all true. The harmony of religions, Dharma Samannaya. The harmony of religions is what Sri Ramakrishna taught, and Swami Vivekananda also taught that. In fact, in his famous address to the Parliament of Religions in 1893 at Chicago, that's the first thing he talked about, was that all religions are true, that the harmony of faiths, there should not be quarrels between religions. So what are Swami Vivekananda's and Sri Ramakrishna's ideas? So what is the problem here and what's the solution? Why is it so important? This question about multiple religions and what is the relationship between them, what is the attitude to that? Before we go into Swami Vivekananda and Sri Ramakrishna's ideas on this, let me give a little background and then I'll move into it, and then we'll take questions again. The background is this. We know that there are many religions in the world. There were some which were existing, have gone away now, but there are several major world religions now. What is the relationship between them? One approach was exclusivism. Exclusivism is that my religion alone is true and the rest are all wrong. So that is the exclusivist attitude. And either I will leave them alone. So, for example, Judaism is the approach is that that our religion is true. This is the original religion, and other religions we ignore, that we have no connection. Another religion like Christianity or Islam or Buddhism might want to convert people. Our religion is true, this is the best one, and we would like to convert you into our religion. So that's the so these are different options in this exclusivist attitude. Then a little more advanced than this, and of course you can see it leads to violence and hatred and dislike of each other. So many problems. This exclusivist attitude was most common in religions throughout history. Then the second attitude is inclusivist. Inclusivist means that my religion is true, it is the best religion, but your religion has also got some truth. It is a lower kind of truth. It's not wrong, and in some sense it is included in my religion. What you are teaching is included in my religion. It's not a very good attitude, but it is actually a little better than exclusivist in the sense that I recognize some truth in your religion and I want to include it in my religion. Recently the Catholic Church, in the last century or so, so the Catholic Church, first it was exclusivist, that only the Catholic Christian doctrine as taught by the church is right, everything else is wrong. And you must be converted into our religion to be saved, otherwise you will all burn in hell. Now the change was that in the last century, some Catholic theologians, they developed the idea of an anonymous Christian. Anonymous Christian means the truth about the truth of Christianity is also there in other religions to some extent. So all other religions, they teach this. They are also Christian in some extent. They do not know it. They just don't know it. Anonymous Christian, without being called Christian, they are Christian. So that is sort of including others. And some of Swami Vivekananda's sayings can also be taken in that spirit, though he did not mean it that way, but that all religions are some form of Vedanta, it's some development of Vedanta. That's a kind of inclusivist attitude. Then there's the pluralist attitude, which has become more and more common now. Pluralist attitude is, there are different religions, and they are all true. They're like different paths going up a mountainside, and each religion has its own truth. Each religion is about the same reality, and it should be respected. And there should be no attempt, trying to convert others or destroy others. No. So this is a pluralistic attitude. So Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda often people say that they're pluralistic attitude. This is something more popular nowadays. Then there's one new one which has come recently. This is called the cosmopolitan attitude. And I think actually Swami Vivekananda comes close to this one. The cosmopolitan attitude is that all religions are true. There are different religions. They're different. All are true. They're different valid paths to enlightenment, salvation, freedom, moksha, whatever you call it. But they're not only true and different, but we can also learn from them, from each other. We can, I can study other religions and I can be benefited. So Cosmopolis is like a big city, like Calcutta or New York, where you have people from different cultures, different food, different dress, different language. They're not only different, but you're also mixing and learning from each other. You can go and eat Mexican food. You can, hear other languages being spoken. You can attend cultural programs of different cultures. So you are experiencing different religions and learning from them. Sri Ramakrishna used to do that. Wherever people would talk about God, he learned Islam. He wanted to know how, at that time the British were ruling and Calcutta was the capital. He wanted to know, how do these white people, how do they worship God? Can you take me to a church and show me? He used to go to the Brahmo devotees, to the Vaishnavas, to the Tantrikas, to the Vedantists. In all these ways, he experienced God. And it was a very cosmopolitan attitude. Okay. What are the core ideas of Swami Vivekananda in this harmony of religions? So this is all taken from Sri Ramakrishna. 5 points I will mention quickly, and then we will take some questions and discussion. First point is that God is infinite. So there is no end to the different aspects of God. The ultimate reality is infinite. There are no limits. Sri Ramakrishna gave a very nice example of sugar. There's a mountain of sugar and there's an ant, and which goes to that mountain of sugar and takes out one little grain of sugar and is dragging it and looking back at the mountain of sugar and saying, I'll come back and take the whole thing. That's impossible. Little ant can't do that. It can't go and take the whole mountain of sugar, and it need not do that. One little grain is enough to fill its stomach. So all spiritual seekers, no matter how great they are, they know only one aspect of God, not the whole thing. And it cannot be known and need not be known. We are fully satisfied. We will attain enlightenment, moksha, freedom from suffering, whatever you want. You will get it by knowing that one little aspect of God, and people realize different aspects of it. Another example Sri Ramakrishna gave was, in Bengali he said, Brahma ekmatra bostu jeta etho haini. Now this etho is a concept which is very difficult to translate. I find it difficult to translate here in English to explain to Americans what is etho. It's a concept in Bengali or in Indian languages. We have in Hindi, jhuta hona, in Oriya it's oita, which means if you taste something with your tongue, you should not offer it to anybody else. In Bengali we say etho hoye gache. But it's a play on words. Sri Ramakrishna was great on playing on words. Etho means here he means it has not touched by tongue, means it cannot be expressed by language. So the tongue cannot speak about Brahman. Brahman, the ultimate reality, cannot be spoken about. Which means whatever we try to speak about Brahman is not, all of it is not entirely correct. Is just an approximation. So whatever has been said in all the religions of the world is an approximation. Nobody can say that what is said in my book by my teacher or my founder, that is the exactly correct thing and nothing more is true. No. If it has been expressed in language already, in Sri Ramakrishna's words, etho, it's already been defined. It's already come into expression. Another famous analogy used by Sri Ramakrishna, which we all know, that people go to the same lake and, to take water. And he says some of them call it jal, some call it pani, some call it water. And he also said some call it aqua. I don't know who calls it aqua or where did Sri Ramakrishna find that word. But different names for the same entity. So similarly, one may have various terms which are used. So this is the Rig Vedic idea. Ekam sat vipra bahuda vadanti. The truth is one and the wise speak of it differently. So just because it's expressed differently in different philosophies or religions does not mean it is wrong. If somebody calls it Allah, somebody calls it Brahman or Ishwara, God, it doesn't mean that one is right and the other is wrong. They are all correct because they are all using different terminology about the same reality. So another example Sri Ramakrishna used was that ice and water. So the formless and the with form. At that time, a big quarrel was in British India, in Calcutta at that time. The British are saying, the Christians are saying that God is without form and you Hindus are worshipping idols, so there should be reform. And the Brahmo Samaj was saying we should not have idol worship, Murti Puja should not be there, only formless God. Sri Ramakrishna comes and says both formless and with form are the same thing. How can formless and with form be the same thing? It seems to be contradictory. And Sri Ramakrishna gave a beautiful example. It's the same water. He says, Bhakti hime barav hoye jai. By the intense cold, that is the intense desire of the devotee, the same formless reality appears in different forms to satisfy the devotion, the bhakti of different devotees. The same reality can appear as Vishnu or Devi or Shiva, and mystics can experience it. And they're all valid. They're all valid. So with form, Shakar and Nirakar. With form and without form, same thing. And then he says, when the Gyan Shurjoda hai, when the sun of knowledge rises, it all melts back into the same water. It's the same substance. Though in forms of ice, they can look different. They're different, like icebergs. They look different. Okay. The second point is that if this is so, there's an infinite reality, then what is the purpose? What do we have to do with this? So second point is, Sri Ramakrishna said, the purpose of human life is to realize God. Bhagavan Labh Jivaner Uddesha. The purpose of human life. What we are all trying to do, even people who are atheists, who are not interested in religion, the kind of satisfaction we are trying to attain, we're trying to overcome sorrow and suffering. All of this is possible by what is called God realization. The whole idea of God realization is that. Vedanta. What is the goal of Vedanta? Atyantika dukkha nivritti paramananda praptischa. The complete cessation of sorrow and the attainment of bliss, ultimate bliss. This is what, after all, this is what we are seeking. If you're trying to earn money, if you're trying to get a degree or a job, do whatever you're in the world, you're actually ultimately trying to attain satisfaction and peace and overcome suffering. And this is attained by God realization. So God realization is the goal, is the ultimate goal of human life. Sri Ramakrishna gave a very nice example. Aam khete escho, aam khe jao. Pata dal gunate ki ache. That means you've come to eat a mango in the garden. So eat the mango. Why are you counting the leaves on the tree? How many leaves are there? How many branches are there? Eat the mango and be satisfied. That means in religion, the main thing is to realize God, to become enlightened. So that's the purpose. Now, if this is the purpose of human life, to realize God, then the purpose of religion is also this. What is religion for? The religion is for realizing God. You might say that, all right, that's obvious. It is not obvious. See, this whole issue, I realized the importance of this only after coming outside India. In India, we have a general feeling that, yes, there's so much variety in religion. So if you take religion seriously, all of those are also correct. And one may appeal to me, and another may appeal to you. You may be a Vaishnava, I may be a Shaiva, you may be a non-dualist, I may be a dualist, you may be Hindu, I may be Christian, another one may be Muslim. It's all right. From a Hindu perspective, we know that there is a wide range of religious models or paradigms. Ekam sat vipra bahuda vadanti. Truth is one, but they are all different ways of expressing it. So they are all different ways of realizing God. It is only after coming out here to the West, I realized this idea is not at all common. The relevance of Swami Vivekananda's teachings, the relevance of Sri Ramakrishna's teachings on the harmony of religions, I was amazed to see. And then here in this country, one of the most advanced, powerful countries of the world, often I see ordinary people accept it. That yes, there are different religions. Nowadays that, when Swami Vivekananda came, there was so much fanaticism, narrowness about religion. Only Christianity is right, nothing else is right. You are heathens. Some liberal people were there. Now the number of liberal people is much more. Many ordinary people accept it. That yes, I think they're different. It's quite right to say they're different religions and they're different ways to God. But it's quite interesting among scholars and theologians, professors of religion, among theologians, you will find an attitude which is very surprising for an Indian. Or these very smart, highly educated people, they will say at the end of it, yes, it's all right, all these ideas are there, but at the end of it, one must be correct. You have to choose one and to reject the others. Why? Why do you think that one has to be correct and everything else has to be wrong? This idea somehow is very deep in Western culture, that if this is the truth, everything else is false. But Sri Ramakrishna says, no, others can also be right. So the third point I want to make here is, which is very important, this idea is really still difficult for people here to grasp. So easy in India, it's so difficult here. The idea is that if the purpose of religion is God realization, then what are all these different religions, what are they about? They are different ways, paths, different ways, roads, paths to the same goal. Sri Ramakrishna says, you want to reach the roof of the house, you can climb up through the staircase. Nowadays, of course, lift will be there. And then you can go climb on a bamboo ladder, or you can even climb on a rope. In different ways, you can reach the roof of the house. Once Brahmo devotees had come to Dakshineshwar, and Sri Ramakrishna is telling them, see, you have all come here. Some of you came by the carriage, horse carriage. Some of you came by the boat across the Ganga. Some of you came by walking, but you have all reached the same place. Similarly, all different paths, they all take you to the same reality in different ways. The ways are different, and the paths are different. Why is it that if one is true, then the other has to be false? No. Fourth point. So the third point was, all the different religions are different paths to the realization of the same goal. Fourth point is, so if there are different paths to the realization of the same goal, which one should I take? Should I take all paths? No, that is also not practical. Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of a man who was digging a well for water. And it's hard work. He's digging a well. After digging 1 foot, he finds no water and he feels tired. He says, no water is there. What is useless? Let me try there. And there he goes and digs. Again, little while later, he finds no water. No, let me try in another place. Instead of digging 6 1-foot holes throughout the day, if he had dug 1 6-foot hole, he might have found water. So one has to focus on one approach. And therefore, this idea of Ishta Devata, Ishtonishta. Ishta Devata means I understand all of these are correct. But my tradition is I worship Krishna. Or I worship, like Sri Ramakrishna, I worship Kali. Fine. You worship Kali and your special dedication is to Kali. That is called Ishta Devata. And this dedication to your Ishta Devata is Ishtonishta. I will realize God through worship of Kali, or through worship of Krishna, or through the worship of following Jesus Christ. So these are different paths. And you pick up one, maybe your own tradition, your own religion, or maybe your choice, and you follow that sincerely. Sri Ramakrishna put it very simply, in very simple words, very powerful doctrine. Today, 21st century, sitting in Manhattan, New York, I find that it is a lesson that we still have to learn. What did he say? Moth path, moth kichu nai, tabe ektake dhore thakte hai. So look, so much has been packed into this. Moth means opinions, faiths, religions. Path, these are paths. Religion is not the truth. Religion is a path to the truth. And these are different paths to the same truth. And he says, Moth kichu nai. It's not so important what particular doctrine, dogma, religion you're following. And then he adds, he does not dismiss it. Then you give up all religion. So here is, for example, many people have given up religion. We don't want it. We don't like religion. Or some people say we want to be spiritual but not religious. Spiritual but not religious is a category here. So, but he says, you must be sincere in one path. You can't give it up. Then, so this is his answer to the question, should we follow all or one? And then the fifth point I wanted to make was that, so if I'm going to follow one, what is my attitude towards the other religions? It will be one of respect. The same reality, which is my Ishta Devata, should be is also in all the other approaches. That which I am worshipping as Vishnu is also Shiva, is also Kali, is also the God of the Christians and the Allah of the Muslims, is also the Nirvana of the godless Buddhists. The same reality. So this is the fifth point. To this, Swami Vivekananda added a few points. One is that so there is no real need for conversion. Conversion is such a big thing here in the West. In that, imagine at that time when Swami Vivekananda came here. So he was asked, "What are you here for? Are you trying to convert Americans into your religion?" He says, "No. Do I want that a Hindu should become a Christian, or a Christian should become a Buddhist, or a Buddhist should become a Muslim?" He says, "God forbid. What do I want then? I want a Hindu should be a better Hindu, a Christian should be a better Christian, Muslim should be a better Muslim, Buddhist should be a better Buddhist." So what a wonderful idea. And we can all learn from each other and enrich each other. I'm reminded of Dara Shukur's. Dara Shukur, he translated the Upanishads. He wrote this book, The Meeting of Two Oceans, which is Hinduism and Islam. And there he says that I find, Dara Shukur himself says, Aurangzeb's elder brother, he says that I find there are dark areas in all different faiths. So the light that one religion can throw upon the dark areas in another religion, and one religion can throw in the dark areas of other religions, we can mutually illumine each other. There is no need for conversion. Swami Vivekananda says the religions of the world are complementary. They are not contradictory. So that's a great thing. The other thing that Swami Vivekananda talks about is that we can all learn from each other. Not only that they are all real, we're all true, and they can take you to God realization, but they're not compartmentalized. Nothing is preventing you from reading a Christian mystical text, from practicing Buddhist Vipassana, from enjoying Islamic Sufi music. Nothing. You can incorporate all of that into your spiritual practice and still remain a good Hindu, a good Vedantist. So, and nowadays you see it's not even necessary to say it. We're all doing it, especially younger generation. You're all multicultural. You're all cosmopolitan that way. Cosmopolitanism is what most of you are practicing. You do not know the name maybe, but that's the approach we all have. And Swami Vivekananda saw that at that time itself. Okay, let me leave it at that. So do you have any questions about different religions, relationship between religions, and Swami Vivekananda's ideas of the harmony of religions? Okay.
Maharaj, I have a question. I heard all your lectures on Digdrishya Vivek, Aparakshanubhuti that you have delivered. And after listening all, I do a silly mistake in regularly, I guess. I try to meditate as the way you have told during your classes. And also, I try to go through Kathamrita regularly, and there Thakur told that Bhakti Yoga is the easiest way at this Kali Yuga. So at the time of meditation, I sometimes mix the two ways. So how to cater the issue?
Have you taken Mantra Diksha?
Yes.
When?
2019.
You took it from Swami Sarvapriyananda ji or?
Yes.
Yes. So when the time of meditation and japa comes, follow the instructions of the Guru. As Sri Ramakrishna said, Ishta Nishtha. So you have been given an Ishta Devata by President Maharaj and an Ishta Mantra. And you concentrate on that and repeat the mantra. That should be the practice. We have limited time and energy, so don't scatter it. And Vedanta is for studying and reasoning and trying to understand. At other times, you want to try the Vedantic meditation in Digdrishya Viveka, try it at other times. Don't mix with this. You see what I'm telling? So in the morning and evening, when you sit down for japa and dhyana, only as the Guru has taught. Don't, using an IT term, create a firewall around it. Don't let other thought and other philosophies enter into it. At other times, you can study Vedanta, you can try to understand it, and also you can even practice the Vedantic Nididhyasana if you like. That's the way to do it. And that's the way I also do it.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Anybody have questions on this harmony of religions, what I just said now, this discussion?
Maharaj,
Yes.
as he had just asked that, you asked that whether he has a guru or not. But if someone has not any guru, then what do you suggest then?
I suggest that you find a guru as soon as possible, but until that time, pick out a particular mantra which appeals to you. It could be something like Om Namah Shivaya or Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya or Krishna mantra or Rama mantra, whatever appeals to you. Repeat that mantra and think of God in that particular form. And then, or if Sri Ramakrishna appeals to you, you can, I know people who just simply chant Jai Sri Ramakrishna. So that's a particular practice of Ishta Devata and Ishta Mantra. But until you get Mantra Diksha from a Guru. You are in the college in Calcutta, so it's easy. Belur Math is there. Once the corona pandemic is over and I think it opens, you will be able to get Mantra Diksha there.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Maharaj, how to and
Yes.
where to find Guru?
Oh,
How to find Guru?
I'll answer from my perspective because I belong to the Ramakrishna Order. So from my perspective, it's easy and you're at the best place. If you're in Calcutta, then Belur Math is there. President Maharaj and Vice President Maharaj is. If you look up in the website, President Belur Math or Vice President Belur Math. So there are 4 Vice Presidents and 1 President, and they give Mantra Diksha. So that is what is meant by having a guru in our tradition, in the Ramakrishna Vivekananda tradition. But there are many other traditions also. So I suggest if you want to follow this tradition, then read up a little bit about, I'm sure as you're part of the Vivekananda youth circle, you already know about Vivekananda. You should go and take in the Mantra Diksha. Maybe right now it might be a little difficult because of the coronavirus pandemic. But once things are better, just look up the website and find out when Diksha is there. And then it's a process. You have to apply and then get the mantra diksha. Do it. Don't waste time. All right. Now, anybody else is going to ask?
I had one question.
Yes.
Maharaj, in the first part, you were quoting Sister Nivedita in how she showed Swamiji synthesize between the many and the one, and in the second
Yes.
part, you showed how Swamiji taught about the harmony of religions. Is there a
Right.
connection between those two, that many
Correct.
and the one?
Very
and
good question. Yes, as Sister Nivedita said, she makes a remarkable claim. She says all the teachings of Vivekananda, they are directly or indirectly coming from that one idea, that the one and the many are the same reality. That which is ultimately Brahman and which is appearing as all these, this entire universe, they are the same reality, appearing as one and many. And from that also follows harmony of religions. So if you have many religions, they are all expressions of the same truth, and they can all take you to that reality. So the harmony of religions follows from that idea. It's not that they are conflicting, they are competing, they are one contradictory. No. They all follow from their idea of one and the many being the same reality. That's a very good observation. In fact, all of the ideas of Vivekananda, which I have mentioned or I'm going to mention, they all come from that one sentence, one and the many are the same reality. Our monk Ayan Maharaj, he calls it Vijnana Vedanta. All right, let me move on to one more topic, and then I'll stop. I find that actually we have been able to cover quite a bit of ground. We're almost out of time. Let me mention one more topic.
So I have a question. So the question is, you said that all the religions don't contradict in themselves, but religions are not just the path to the truth. They have some social construct and some political opinions also, which de facto contradict.
Yes.
About the status of women in society and about the many other things. They contradict. So how do you think that those things can be taken as in a harmonious way?
Correct. So that is a good question. So that's why many scholars here, they say, no, how can you say religions do not contradict? One young man, he's Indian, his parents are Indian, but he was born here. He has said that no, religions are contradictory. One is saying that Friday is the holy day. One is saying Muslims say Friday is the day of prayer. Jews say Saturday is the day of prayer. Christians say Sunday is the day of prayer. How are they one? How are they not contradictory? See, how do you reconcile all of this? If you accept that ultimately they are all leading to the same reality, then what does it make those religions? It makes them paths. Contradiction comes when you say this is the truth and another person says that is the truth, then there is a contradiction. But if you say that is the truth and this is one path to it and there is another path to it, then there is no contradiction. If your Google map takes you by this way and your Google map takes you by that way, then the ways are different, but the goal may be the same. Now, when you say the religions are not only about God realization, but they have a political aspect, social aspect, a ritualistic aspect, there are mythologies, so many different aspects of their religion. And they are contradictory. But contradictory in what sense? Do you mean they are different? If the political aspect or social aspect was the truth, then it would be contradictory. You see what I'm saying? The truth is God realization. That is the purpose of religion. If politics was the purpose of religion, if social reform was the purpose of religion, social status of women was the purpose of religion, for example, then they would be contradictory. One is saying one thing, another is saying another thing. But if they can all be seen, so to that young man who asked, so which is true? Is Friday the day of prayer, or Saturday the day of prayer, or Sunday the day of prayer? I said, look, the point in religion is to have prayer, is to have spiritual practice. And every religion says you should be continuously dedicated to prayer and spiritual practice, because we cannot be continuously dedicated. We are not up to that level yet. We need special day, special time, special place. We need temple, church, mosque. We need Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then you use that day and that place for a special spiritual practice. That was the original purpose. There is no contradiction. You can take Friday if it's your tradition. You can take Saturday if it's your tradition. You can take Sunday if it's your tradition. Similarly, in all the other aspects, see if it is helpful for you to ultimately realize God to have those practices. And if it is helpful, then take it up, and it is not contradictory. Do you see how contradictions are there only if you take that thing as the truth? The Friday is the day of prayer, no other day. If that is the truth, then it is contradictory. But one day should be dedicated to prayer. One time should be dedicated to prayer. One place should be dedicated to spiritual practice. There is no contradiction there. You can have one day, I can have another day. Also, about politics and society, remember, we live in a secular world. So we are governed not by Hindu law, Islamic law, Christian law, whatever. We are governed by the constitution of the country, constitution of USA, constitution of India, or whichever country you're living in. So it's a multi-faith, the people of different religions, people of no religion. So they are governed by one common law and constitution. That solves a lot of the problems. You cannot impose your point of view, or anybody else cannot impose their point of view. Only the private, your personal spiritual practices, you can be different in that, and you can follow that. Okay. So you establish harmony in that way. But what you asked, that is the source of many of the conflicts, that we take one particular social practice or political system that this is the truth and it has to be imposed on everybody else. Then there is conflict. Okay, one more point, I'll stop because we have almost run out of time. This point is about the 4 yogas. So we talked about Advaita Vedanta, that we are one reality, but how is it to be realized? If you realize that, if you become enlightened, you are beyond sorrow, beyond, you attain ultimate happiness, dukkha nivritti, ananda prapti. So a very great gain is there. But how to attain that? The way to attain that is yoga. Yoga means there are 4 yogas which Swami Vivekananda has spoken about. Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge. Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion. Raja Yoga, the path of meditation. Karma Yoga, the path of action. So Swami Vivekananda's famous definition of religion. What is religion? He says each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this divinity within us. Do it by knowledge, Jnana Yoga. By psychic control, meditation actually. So Raja Yoga. Do it by devotion, Bhakti Yoga. Do it by service or work, that is Karma Yoga. By one or more or all of these, and be free. That is the whole of religions. Books, temples, doctrines, churches, these are secondary details. So it's a very powerful definition of religion. And really it's simple, powerful, but it's worth noticing that, I saw even in philosophy departments, theology schools here, people are still debating what is religion. How do you define religion? You may not agree with Swami Vivekananda's definition, but you can see it's a very clear definition, very powerful, and sort of inclusive of all different kinds of thoughts and approaches. So Swami Vivekananda designed that logo of the Ramakrishna Mission. You will see the Ramakrishna Mission logo is the wavy waters and the swan on it, and the sun is rising in the background. There's a lotus in the front, and the whole thing is encircled by a serpent. So this is the symbol of the 4 yogas. The sun rising is the sun of knowledge. The waters are the wavy waters of karma yoga. The lotus blossoming is the lotus of bhakti, devotion, love of God. And the whole thing is encircled by the kundalini in the form of the serpent, which is symbolic of Raja Yoga or meditation. And he says by a harmony of all of this, the swan which is swimming in the waters, that is the Paramatma or Paramahamsa, you realize the ultimate reality. You become enlightened. So Swami Vivekananda's idea was by the harmony of the 4 yogas, by Jnana Yoga, by Bhakti Yoga, by Raja Yoga, by Karma Yoga, you practice all of them and become enlightened. Now what is old and what is new? Remember our whole theme today is what is traditional in Swami Vivekananda's presentation and what is new and novel. See, the traditional idea was, all these yogas are well known in Vedanta literature. The traditional idea was, in Advaita Vedanta, our problem is ignorance. We do not know our real nature, that I am Brahman, we do not know it. So the solution will be knowledge. will be realization that I am Brahman. And this knowledge will come through Jnana Yoga. How does this knowledge come? Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Just like you go to your class in the engineering college, you have to hear this and study this. That is Shravana. Systematically studying this with the teacher, the Upanishads and the texts. And then after you have studied it, you know what the teaching is, what the text is, but then you have got many doubts. So this has to be clarified through interaction, through questioning the teacher, through many questions and answers which you find in the texts itself, and thinking it out for yourself. And this is called Mananam, second stage. And then finally, when you have understood it, you're convinced about it, clarity is there, no more doubts, then you have to meditate upon it till it becomes a living reality. And Swami Vivekananda says, till it tingles with every drop of your blood, Soham, I am that, or I am he. That realization comes. Now, to enable this to happen, Advaita Vedanta says the other yogas, what about Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, Raja Yoga? They are very helpful. So Karma Yoga purifies the mind, Bhakti Yoga and Raja Yoga concentrates the mind. With a purified, concentrated mind, come to Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga alone and Jnana Yoga alone will give you the knowledge which will free you. Now, this is the traditional approach in Advaita Vedanta. But for example, in Vishishta Advaita, same thing is there, but the process has been changed. Karma Yoga first for purifying the mind, then Jnana Yoga for realizing that I'm not the body and mind, I'm consciousness, and then Bhakti Yoga. You, the individual consciousness, you have to be connected to the Supreme Consciousness through devotion. The Vishishta Advaita framework. So Bhakti is the highest, Jnana is next, and Karma is the lowest. And Dhyana, they do not give emphasis to Dhyana. If you come to the Gaudiya Vaishnavism of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in Bengal, Gaudiya Vaishnavism, and in America it is very popular as ISKCON. There, Jnana and Karma and Dhyana are minimized, Bhakti is paramount. Everything can be accomplished through Bhakti. So the idea was that one yoga is important and the others are either dispensed with or they support it. What Swami Vivekananda did was, he said, no, the harmony of all of them, all of the four yogas. See, they correspond to different faculties in the human psyche. We all have the faculty of work, ability to work, Karma Yoga. All have devotion, we have love, desire in our hearts that can be focused through Bhakti Yoga. We all have the cognitive capacity to understand Jnana Yoga and the importance of focus, which is Raja Yoga. He did not make a ladder that one yoga is the highest and others are all below it. So the traditional approach was one after another, like a ladder. Swami Vivekananda sort of flattened the ladder and said all four are necessary and they will lead you to God realization. They have to be harmonized in our spiritual practice. If you ask, somebody asks you, if people ask me, I say the same thing. If somebody asks you, you can say the same thing also. If I want to be spiritual, what should I do? You should study the scriptures, think about it, and try to understand what is there. That is the beginning of Jnana Yoga. You should sit down and meditate, calm down the mind, morning and evening twice. That is the beginning of Raja Yoga, only beginning. You should have some kind of devotional practice, some kind, whatever your approach is, whatever your religion is, a devotional practice. It could be puja, it could be prayer, it could be some kind of devotional music, a little bit of ritual, offering flowers and incense, some devotional, loving God, surrendering to God, Bhakti Yoga. And you should have an aspect of Karma Yoga in your life. The beginning of Karma Yoga is to be helpful to others. That not always I, me and mine. People around me and the society around me, what can I do for them? And this attitude of service. Very important teaching of Swami Vivekananda. Just one point here, that there are many things to be discussed here. How can you harmonize the yogas? That will be a big question. Why should you harmonize the yogas? That's also another question. I'm not going to answer that, but let me just make one point and then I'll stop. So there is a criticism of this approach. I've heard a traditional teacher of Advaita Vedanta, very good teacher. He's saying that some people teach that there are four yogas and they can all lead to God realization. No. 4 yogas cannot lead to God realization, cannot lead to enlightenment, moksha. Only Jnana Yoga. And the other yogas will help. Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga and Dhyana will help Jnana Yoga. But Jnana Yoga alone will give you the knowledge. Our problem is ignorance, and only knowledge can solve it. Not service or meditation or devotion. Actually, knowledge is needed. Now, what is the answer? The answer is you are right. But remember, you are right from the Advaitic paradigm. The same Vedanta is interpreted by Ramanuja, and he says Bhakti is the highest. Only Bhakti will give you moksha. So is Ramanuja wrong? Or when the Gaudiya Vaishnavas say that Bhakti alone can give you the highest, are they wrong? No. It is from your Advaitic paradigm that you are saying, and which I also like very much, that you are saying Jnana is the highest, and that alone will give you moksha. But when you change the paradigm, it might be that Bhakti is the highest. It might be something else is the highest. Patanjali Yoga, for example, if you read the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, it is by meditation alone you will get moksha. Meditation gives rise to the knowledge which is necessary for liberation. So, the answer is that if you want to be inclusive of all the traditions, if you ask the traditional Advaitic teacher, that another teacher says Bhakti will lead you to liberation, what is your answer? The traditional Advaitic teacher will say, no, he's wrong. Now, it is difficult to, in this day and age, to think that only my tradition is right and everybody else is wrong. Rather, Swami Vivekananda's approach is much better, that it can include all these approaches. So instead of saying that one is higher and one is lower, he says, if you take one higher and the other is lower, that will also take you. But don't be exclusive, that only that part, that way is right, those other ways are wrong. No. Okay, let me just stop there and see what questions are there. I will, let me just take up one or two questions and a little discussion, and then I'll sum up.
Maharaj.
So one by one. Sudipto?
Yes. I have a question from many days, and today I have got a chance to share it. So my question is, if I accept Advaita, then what is the goal? Because as in the first part, you only said that I am the knower of everything, and the knower is one. So there cannot second one who can know this.
Yes.
And after that, you said that God realization is the purpose of human life.
Yes.
So if I cannot know or realize something, which means by definition, at first you were telling that something which it is not realizable or it is not knowable. So what is the goal there? Because in other
correct. I understand. Let me answer that. It is not that it is unknowable. In Advaita Vedanta, your real nature, that you are Brahman, it's not that it is unknowable. Swami Vivekananda says that you must not go away from here. He's giving a lecture in London. You must not go away thinking it is unknowable or unrealizable. It is more than known. It is that which is known first, and through that everything else is known. After all, that you exist, you are aware, that's the first knowledge you have. So what is done in Advaita Vedanta? It is unknown or unknowable in the sense that it is not an object. You cannot see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, or touch it. It is your real nature. So what happens in Advaita Vedanta is the error that I am not Brahman, that I am an individual little being, this body and mind called Sudipta Mandal, and that's my only identity. This error is corrected. That no, I am the witness consciousness and the unlimited consciousness in all beings, in all bodies and minds. This clarity will come, this knowledge will come, this conviction will come. And that will become so clear to you. That is God realization or enlightenment in the Advaitic process, not the vision of some God. So not knowing Brahman as an object, that would defeat the whole purpose. To realize I am Brahman. Just think about it yourself.
Yes.
In your own case, you can know the body, but you are not the body. You can know your own thoughts, but you are not your thoughts. That one which is within Sudipta Mandal, which is knowing the thoughts of Sudipta, the history of Sudipta, the body of Sudipta, and through Sudipta's body-mind, experiencing the world, that one, can you doubt it? Doesn't that exist? Of course that exists. Without that, there would be no Sudipta at all. So that is the reality, and that cannot be known as an object. And that it cannot be known as an object. It is I myself. That is the realization of Aham Brahmasmi. correction of the error is the goal in Advaita Vedanta, not to know the reality as an object. Good question. I think who wanted to ask?
Yes, Maharaj.
Abhigyan was next. Abhigyan was next.
Yes, Maharaj. I have a question from the harmony in religions. So after having having birth in this world, we come to know that our family is of this religion, and we go through that religion in that way. And after going through that, we come to know that they are basically leading to the same reality, what you told. But my question is that if a child who born who have a birth, who has no such background or no such family or like that, which religion to choose for him? And the second question is that if anyone has the religion, sometimes we see that people are changing their religion. So is it correct?
All right. So two questions. One is, suppose one does not have a religion. It's not uncommon, especially here in the West. There are many people, especially among highly educated, rich families in America, for example. Many are there who don't want to follow any religion. And so they do not teach any religion to their children. So those children grow up in those families. They're getting good education, nice lifestyle, but they have no training in any particular religion. Now, if they become spiritual, if they're interested, they can pick up anything which they like, any religion which appeals to them, that will be suitable to their samskara. If they like it, that means the samskara is taking to it. And that's what many Americans do. So many people come to the Vedanta society, some go to Buddhism, some practice Christianity, whatever it is, or somewhat of a mixture of all. Suppose you're a Christian, but you also are interested in Hindu philosophy or meditation. So that can be done. And that is also quite common. Second is it correct to change one's religion? And there's nothing wrong in it. What is wrong is playing this numbers game of conversion. It is a big business here, and you will not understand. You see in USA, big institutions are there, where huge amount of money is being poured and targeting you. You Indians, you have to be converted into my church, in my type of Christianity. And young men and women are being trained up here in different churches, in different organizations. You will go as missionaries to India and convert those poor people who do not know the glorious religion of my type of Christianity, and convert you to our religion. That's a numbers game, a game of it's a sort of a political, social kind of. This is not very good at all. So Mahatma Gandhi once said, somebody was asking about conversion, he said, I am not against it, but going to the poor people who may not know anything about their tradition and using their poverty and trying to trick them into accepting a different religion, that is not good. If you want to convert, come and convert me. Mahatma Gandhi is saying, come and convert me, let us see. So that is not good. But if one person examines a particular religion carefully and it appeals to him, and he does not have, suppose what already he has got, or he has no religion, something appeals to him and really likes it, it's a free society. You should be able to practice what you want to practice. Why not? All right. So if there is no...
Maharaj, I am from class 11. My question is why we should study?
Why should we study? Well, in class 11, you must study at least class 12 and then your college and university. Why should we study? For many, many reasons. I was in a teacher's training college, the purpose of education. Swami Vivekananda gives the purpose of education as the manifestation of the perfection already within us. Religion is manifestation of the divinity within us. Education is manifestation of the perfection within us. See, you have many capacities, many qualities and talents, and those will be expressed, trained and developed only if you have education. Of course, it requires the proper kind of education. So if you are good at mathematics, for example, you need an education, you need help to be trained in mathematics to become a good mathematician. If you're good at sports or at dancing, you need education in dancing or in music to become an expert dancer. So whatever you want to do in life, education will help you. Is that what you are asking?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yes, education will help you. Only when we are in school, +2, you're in class 11, and most of the others are students in college, especially when we are confronted with so much syllabus, so much competition, so much pressure, we feel, what is the need of all of this? It is true, it is sometimes a big burden. So pick out the things which interest you, concentrate on that, and the others, you do your best. So the certain things which interest you, you must do that to the best of your ability, and you will develop a lot. The other things which you might not be interested, but you still have to do that. Often in life, we have to do things which we are not interested in. It's a good training. But nowadays you're also lucky because there's a lot of options are much more now. A variety of courses are there. Do something which interests you. But 11, 12 is compulsory for everybody. So put forth your effort, learn as much as you can, develop a taste for academics, and then after +2, you choose something which appeals to you. Then who is next?
To ask Swamiji.
Yes.
Swamiji, I want to ask, in the same religion, we have different spiritual groups such as ISKCON or Swami Vivekananda group or Hare Krishna. So which to follow?
Right. So, especially in Hinduism, we have a vast variety. Every religion is diverse. With Hinduism, especially, I think it's the most diverse religion on earth. Sometimes I'm invited to give talks here, different schools, when they have classes on religion, introduction to world religions. So I'm invited to introduce Hinduism to the children here. Often there are no Indian children, just American children here. They have no idea about Hinduism. So I tell them it's so diverse. Suppose you take all the varieties of Christianity you find in USA, you put them all together, all the different churches. Then you add to it all the denominations of Judaism, and then add to it all the varieties of Islam, and make one grand Abrahamic religion. You will think how much diversity there is. Their eyes become big, thinking what a huge religion it will be. Well, in Hinduism, there's more diversity than that. Vast diversity is there. There are, if you ask in Hinduism, do Hindus believe in God? Answer is yes and no. There are Hindu philosophies which do not talk about God, like Sankhya, for example. Is God male? What is the answer in Hinduism? Yes and no, because God is also worshipped as the divine mother, as goddess. So all these varieties are there within Hinduism. As I said, Sri Ramakrishna's teaching, Ishta Nishtha. You pick up one and that becomes your path. So if you are a worshipper of Krishna, pick up one philosophy and worship Krishna in that way, and be liberal about others. Remember, all other paths are the same Krishna which you are worshipping, but in different forms, so you have respect for others. That is the Hindu way.
Swamiji, in foreign countries, we see that the consciousness is increasing very rapidly as compared to India. But Hinduism the origin of Hinduism is from India. Then why the foreigners are becoming more rapidly consciousness as compared to India?
One reason is that people, after enjoying all material comforts, success and power, no happiness, fulfillment is there, then they seek for ways in which they can, this promise of spiritual life, that you can experience God, actually be enlightened. So that's why Hinduism is popular. Even more popular than Hinduism, I would say, is Buddhism in the United States, especially Dalai Lama and Tibetan Buddhism, very popular now. So because it offers a direct path. Now, in India, we are going through a phase of enormous material development. So I think there is also a great deal of interest in spirituality in India. India will always be a spiritual country. Right now, a lot of materialism is there, and it's good. Swami Vivekananda wanted that. We should move from tamas to rajas to sattva. From inertia and laziness to activity, dynamism, ambition, whatever it is. It can give rise to many bad things also. But only after that, sattva, that is spirituality and, seeking enlightenment, that will come after that. I also have noticed one thing about many Indians who I meet here. So they come from colleges like yours, and their whole ambition was to get good marks and get a good multinational job and come to the United States or some Western country and earn a lot. One young man who is here now, Indian, he's from one of the IITs, I think. He says, now see, I have achieved my goal. I'm working in Manhattan in one of the top multinationals of the world, and I earn more each month than my father used to earn in like 1 year or 5 years of his job. So always the question comes, now what? And I see that Indians who come here and achieve their goals, very quickly they become interested in spiritual life. So that is something that is in our blood. It comes very easily to Indians. When you become interested, you will really progress very fast. Okay, let me just make a concluding statement and end, because I have another program to go after this. So what are the 2 or 3 other things which I did not mention? So I mentioned what is Swami Vivekananda's central teaching of Vedanta, that is the divinity within ourselves and the oneness of all existence. Then I talked about the harmony of religions. Then I talked about briefly the harmony of the 4 yogas. One more thing I've wanted to mention, we did not have time, is Swami Vivekananda on ethics. How he said Advaita Vedanta can be the basis of ethics. Why should I be good? That is the question. And the answer is, very briefly I'm saying, Swami Vivekananda said, is that because we are all one. So if by doing good to you, I'm ultimately doing good to myself. By hurting you, I'm ultimately hurting myself. This oneness of existence is the basis of ethics. Many things to say about it, but I will not say today. Maybe in some other occasion. So Vishwarup, should we wrap it up?
Yes, Maharaj.
We have gone over time, yes.
No problem, Maharaj. Maharaj, thank you so much for addressing us today. I think all the students here feel very privileged that finally we got to interact with you. And the interaction session was also quite lively.
Yes. Thank you for organizing it. Let me do a peace chant. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Thank you so much. Take care.
Pranam Maharaj.
Namaskar.